The playoffs are here, and you can predict the action all the way to the finals with FanDuel Predicts. Predict the spread, the total points, and even the game-winning moments that make the playoffs. Sign up and get a $25 bonus with FanDuel Predicts.
Offered by FanDuel Prediction Markets, LLC, a registered futures commission merchant. 18-plus bonus is non-withdrawable and expires 7 days after receipt. Trading derivatives involves significant risk and may not be suitable for all investors. Manage your activity with their consumer protection tools. Restrictions apply. See terms at FanDuel.com/predicts/bonus-offer-terms.
Listen, all you New Yorkers. Taxi!
Okay, man, we're looking around.
This is the 77 WABC minicast.
Bless America,
land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the lights from above. From the mountains to the prairies to the oceans.
Whitewood Farm.
God bless America.
And going on tour is the
my
Tone Deafs.
home, sweet home.
Kate Smith and friends here.
And we have a new guest.
We have a new person joining us here on the Katz and Company Takeover. Sid and Friends in the Morning in studio. Staten Island Borough President Vito Fosella. This is a really special weekend. For those of us, I think everyone in this room, we all remember the 1976 bicentennial celebration. I couldn't have imagined another 50 years as a 6-year-old back then, but. If there's a borough to go to really experience 250 and really know that this is this celebration, it's got to be Staten Island, right?
No doubt. And thank you. Happy 4th to everybody. And as I was driving in and listening to our great friend Peter King and you all, Peter's a dear friend, and nobody embodies this country more so than he. But as we're coming over the Verrazano Bridge and you're watching New York Harbor starting to fill with Navy ships, aircraft carriers, think of the power and the might of this great country, but also the humility of always standing up for freedom and liberty, regardless of where the people are. And that's the arc of history. And tonight, for example, we're hosting a concert in Fort Wadsworth overlooking New York Harbor with the Marine Corps Band. Tomorrow, we're hosting an event at the Alice Austin House right on the water. To watch the parade of tall ships as they come to the harbor. So, yeah, Staten Island is full of patriotism, loves this country, supports our police and law enforcement, but also understands the magic. I heard all of you talking about the immigration, and we're all a nation of immigrants. But when they come here, they work hard, they respect the flag. And somebody very close to me said, and they live in another borough, but he said, when it comes to Staten Island, the one thing that stands out first and foremost is the number of American flags that are across the borough. And that's what not just this weekend's all about, but every day is all about. So I'm very lucky to represent the great people of Staten Island.
Now, what were they doing in California the other day? There was an objection of some people that had American flags out on their front lawn.
They made them take them down. They made them take them down.
Who made them take them down?
I think it might have been their HOA, but we'll have to find out.
I'm gonna remind everybody. I remember when Trump tasked myself and a few other people in regard to flying the American flag, and my specific one had to deal with his property in Palos Verdes, California. Very similar to what happened in Mar-a-Lago, where they thought he went excessive. Imagine this. He went excessive in terms of the size of the American flag. They thought it was too big. He created and bought a flag which you could see from virtually anywhere in Palm Beach or on the Pacific Coast Highway.
I saw it from Fort Lauderdale.
You could see it from New York. And here's the crazy thing. Imagine that somebody has the gall to tell you the size of the American flag that you want to fly on your own property. And so, of course, he won that, but he won it at a tremendous expense. It was not a freebie where they just said, hey, yeah, you can fly this large American flag. when they talk about Trump's patriotism, you may not like, and that's okay, like Peter King was saying, you don't have to agree with someone 100% of the time, but at least acknowledge that the man is patriotic. Again, you may not like some of his policies. That's your prerogative, but don't question the man's patriotism because he has proven it many, many times before.
President Trump is the most patriotic guy I've ever met in my life. And there's another story to the height. Wasn't it the height of the flag in Mar-a-Lago?
It was the height, and it was mostly the size of the flag.
So tell like a little inside baseball as to what ultimately he did to sort of circumvent what they wanted to punish him in a way. So.
Well, and they did, and they started to fine him, and they started to really just bust his chops, to which point he just filed a lawsuit based upon his right to fly the flag. I mean, imagine that somebody has to bring a lawsuit in order to fly the flag. By the way, the size of the flag should never be a question that anybody should have the right to tell you how big the flag is.
We're going to have one of the largest flags in the world be hanging from the Verrazano Bridge over this weekend.
Yeah.
Well, the CEO of Camping World, Marcus Lemonis, the same thing happened to him.
Mm-hmm.
He was ordered to take down the flag because it was too big. This isn't something new.
We could talk about it. To me, it's dumbfounding. I cannot imagine that somebody can turn around and say, you're too patriotic, or, the size of your flag is too big. I mean, this isn't a 1970s porno. This is the American flag you're talking about. Nobody should tell you the size of the flag that you want to fly on your property. To me, it's just stupid.
Vito Fossella, we were talking about the strength of the U.S. economy, and of course it's not perfect, and you're the one elected official in this room, so I understand the third rail that talking about how great the economy can be, because even if it's 100% true, there are always some people who are left out, and it makes you seem like you're out of touch. But I just want to fixate on one specific statistic that we didn't get a chance to talk about in the last hour, and I think you'd be a good person to talk about it. We learned last week that the U.S. economy is creating 1,200 new millionaires every day. Now, we talked about the net loss, and obviously it's not a net, but it's 1,200 new millionaires a day. Something's going right here. I'm sorry if that's the case.
Our best days are ahead. I think, to use stock market lingo, I'm going long on the United States of America. I spend a lot of time in schools. I spend a lot of time with business owners across Staten Island. I am bullish on this country as long as we allow them to fulfill their American spirit. Provide incentives for them to do well. Don't punish success. Don't punish those who just want to achieve the American dream. And if we allow those incentives to remain in place without crushing them, this country will forever be the greatest in the history of the world. And then you say, compared to what? You compare it to other economies. Other economies across Western Europe are flat. If you start going into some parts of Asia, yeah, sure, the Chinese, China's China, whatever you want to say. But the American economy is rooted in the American individual, and the American individual still believes the sky is the limit. And as long as we push that and allow it to flourish, America will forever be the land of opportunity.
You need to respect capitalism. That's what this country is about. My parents immigrated here from the Dominican Republic in 1950. I grew up in the Lower East Side of New York. All I had was an opportunity to succeed, and I took it. I dropped out of school when I was 14. I started my own little carpet company at the age of 17, and I got married at the age of 17, and I had my first son before I was 20. So, today I am who I am, but I know who I owe it to. I owe it to being in this country. If I had to give everything up, my biggest asset, I've always said, is being in the United States of America. And being an immigrant, coming here and working for it and respecting the flag, because I swore to respect the flag of the United States. I would fight for this country before I would fight for the country I was born. Why? Because it's made me who I am today. So I wish that every migrant and anyone welcoming migrants would understand this. And by the way,
wait. You know what I keep saying? Immigration, yes.
Migration,
no.
Yes.
Hold on.
Invasion,
we got
no.
Lee Harris here to keep us legal, to make an announcement of all the stations we're on this morning.
Gentlemen, it's that time again. This is WABC New York, WRCR Haverstraw, WLIR Hampton Bays, and WLID Patchogue.
Thank you. And I must say that WABC New York is worldwide, 178 countries right now, and 50 states. And Lee Harris is also in charge of the worldwide news network. That was a big ad yesterday in the New York Post in the special edition, and it's where CBS closed down their operation, the syndication worldwide. WABC and Worldwide News Network is taking over. And Lee Harris, you're doing a great job.
That's breaking news. That's breaking news.
Congratulations.
Thank you, John, and there's a lot more to do, and we'll keep doing it.
I am honored because Lee uses my mic when he walks into the studio. And listen, big shoes to fill. Guys, have you realized that the 4th of July weekend is the day that Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce decided to get married? That's an honor.
Yeah, I mean,
it's an honor to New York. It's an honor to the nation that this is the weekend they 250th anniversary of the United States is when they're getting married.
You know,
That's great.
national holidays were common for weddings in this country. I think they still are a little bit because people could get to them. For Jewish people, especially in the New York area, Christmas Day was a very common day to get married.
That's because you get a discount.
You get a discount. People were off work, and then until 1959, they would go to Havana for their honeymoon. Vito Fossella is with us in the studio right now, the borough president of Staten Island.
And the largest flag ever in the Verrazano Bridge, Vito?
That's right. We petitioned to get it done, and it's going to be flying this weekend. So as the ships are coming into New York Harbor from around the world, and they approach and they see Staten Island on the left, they will know that we truly love our country. In fact, what we tried to do a couple of years ago, in fact, we did, Fort Wadsworth is, as you come into the Staten Island, is the first thing you see. And it's an old fort, one of the oldest in the United States, if not when it was active. And we wanted the highest flag and the biggest flag. So when people come to Staten Island, coming over the Verrazano, we want them to know that Staten Island loves this country by waving that flag. And we got the largest one possible to be flown in Fort Wadsworth.
Vito Fossella.
Do you know what the dimensions are? I'm curious.
I don't know offhand, but believe it or not, we wanted to get a bigger one, but the Park Service said we can't get a bigger one there because we need a number of people to fold it and remove it. So we said get the biggest one that's practical. So I don't know the dimensions offhand, but I could probably get them.
I mean, it's curious because when you start arguing about how big the American flag can be, it's those individuals that I'm more concerned about with their anti-patriotism. It's almost as stupid, to be honest with you, as the negativity about, for example, what's taking place, the 250th fair that Trump and the administration created there in the Great Mall in Washington. Oh, there's nobody going. The Ferris wheel isn't working. Look at the reflecting pool. Everything is a indication of his presidency because it's failing, that there's a problem with it. First of all, Donald Trump didn't build the Ferris wheel. Let's be serious about that, right? If Coney Island has a problem with the Ferris wheel, does it mean that it's the borough president of Brooklyn? Does it mean that Coney Island isn't a fun place to go? He created a place for people to go to share their moment, the 250th. We're so fortunate to be alive and to be able to celebrate this. So why is this now an issue? Just like the reflecting pool. I mean, I know J.J. Caffaro, the guy that was hired within which to put down the pool. Guy's done thousands of pools. Thousands. Why did Trump use him? Because Trump used him for dozens of pools over the years. There's a mistake in the material that was used. Okay, whatever it might be.
Fix it.
Fix it. It's a maintenance issue. It is not an indices of what's going on with the presidency. Let's stop with the nonsense. Let's focus on the real issues.
There's, I look at it a little differently, and that is most of the people, the vast majority of people in this country love it. They love the fact that they're parents and grandparents and great-grandparents sacrificed to give them a better life, which is why you have a so-called immigration problem, because people still want to come here. But there's a handful that hate this country. They hate capitalism. They hate what the country stands for. They hate the flag. They hate the fact that they can't control every aspect of people's lives. So to those people who just want to find evil in everything and find the problem in everything, I think it's our responsibility. I credit John Catsimatidis and Margot for giving us a voice to crowd them out and simply say, what you want to do is destroy this country. What you want to do is bring the people down, and we're not going to allow it to happen.
So how is that different than what I just said?
Only, excuse me. No, only because the approach is, let's focus, my opinion, focus on the 98% of the people that truly love this country. And we're always going to find the guy in the back who's going to stand up and say, I don't like you, I don't like this country. But then there's 98 people who are going to stand there and say, sit down. You have every right to stand up and voice your opinion in this country, because people died to give you that right. People died to give you the ability to walk freely, speak freely.
Yep.
You could be a total idiot. But at the same time, the most people I know, when tomorrow comes, they will be waving that flag, loving this country. Some will have tears in their eyes because they know the sacrifice that was made to give all of us a better life. That's how I see it.
I used to hear stories from my father. You know, thank God I still have it. He's still alive, 91, Holocaust survivor, was fortunate enough to survive, ended up not being able to come to America because they had malaria, so ended up in Toronto, Canada, came to the United States to practice head and neck reconstructive surgery after becoming a doctor in Canada. Met my mom, the whole bit. I was 11 years old. It was 1976 on a bicentennial that my father became a U.S. citizen. And I remember him constantly throughout my entire life talking about there is no country greater than the United States of America. At one point, he almost had to leave. They were throwing him out of the country because his visa had expired. It was actually, whatchamacallit, it was the mayor at the time who gave him an indefinite visa to stay, Jacob Javits.
Wow.
Senator Jacob Javits is the one who actually gave him the ability to stay, and ultimately, again, took him almost 11 years, 12 years.
1976 was the year I opened my first carpet store on Avenue A between Houston and 2nd Street.
That was a wild time.
Yeah, it was it was way back then. And, you know, the city was different back then. You know, the city was hungry. You know, it was destroyed. I mean, there was a lot of burnt out buildings everywhere. Landlords turned their keys over because, you know, they couldn't afford it, right? We have a mayor today, Vito, that said to everyone, bring your thermostat up to 78 degrees, but yet City Hall was at 63 degrees. I'm sure Gracie Mansion is probably at 63 degrees, right? So it's the whole socialist, communist mentality. They're going to eat well. They're going to eat great steaks, but the people should eat affordable food.
Sure, but how about even on top of that, Mayor Mondani refused to march, for example, and if this doesn't tell you everything about his character, refused to participate in the Israeli Day Parade. Now, you don't have to agree with Israel's policies.
But you're the mayor of all the people.
You're the mayor. You're supposed to show up for all people.
Yes,
right?
I agree.
The same way if you're showing up for the LGBTQ plus community, you show up as the mayor. The same if it's the Greek parade or the Palestinian. I don't care.
You've heard of
show up.
You've heard of revenge. That word revenge,
it's
right?
my book.
Okay, it's your right.
Now,
revenge.
I will tell you something, because
Shame on him.
Today is the 4th of July, 3rd of July, tomorrow's the 4th, and all the ships are coming in. And I won't mention which specifics. I got a call from the White House a few months ago, and it was not the president. It was, I won't mention names. That
Omerta going on
that
here.
somebody in the mayor's office, and I won't mention names, would not allow the police to cooperate with the Coast Guard and with the ships coming in. And I did make the phone call, and like I said, with the mayor's office, we had the mayor at the Police Athletic League. I said we might not agree on everything we say, and the same thing that Ed Koch used to say. You might not agree with everything you say, but we got to keep communications open, and we have to be civilized as much as we can.
Yeah, I agree.
And the mayor's office took care of the ships.
You know, Michael, I look out of my window every day, and I feel so privileged to have an amazing view. I also live in a Trump building, and I'm proud to say that. It's probably the best maintained building in New York where I live. And I look out,
the standards,
and I see the ships out of my window, and I get goosebumps because I see the power of the United States. You see, it's like amazing to be here. For those people that don't live and have never been to the U.S., they don't know what they're
we
missing.
all take it for granted.
We do because we're
take
here.
it for granted because we're here and we get to enjoy the freedoms of this great country of ours. Again, and I want to be crystal clear.
Well, you haven't enjoyed the freedoms all the time.
Well, I have not.
Yeah.
But here's the crazy thing that we all have to just acknowledge and understand. We're all different. Be Italian, you could be Spanish,
Dominican,
Irish, Greek, right? Greek. And so we're all different. We come from different neighborhoods. We come from different walks of life. We're never going to agree on everything 100% of the time. If you agree with somebody 100% of the time, you're in a cult. Plain and simple. You're in a or right, as Ed Koch said, you should see a psychiatrist. Here's the thing. That doesn't mean that anything you disagree on is poison, that everything that you disagree on should be smashed and pounded down, especially when you're talking about the President of the United States and a policy. You have every right. The Constitution grants it to you, every single right within which to disagree. But that doesn't mean that that disagreement has to turn to hatred and to a lynch mob. And that's what this far left, I know, I've experienced it. I refuse to acknowledge something which wasn't true about Trump and the Epstein file. I refuse because it's not true. And that cost me about 50,000 subscribers on my Substack.
Wow.
50,000. Literally people walked away because the far left attacked me vociferously. Like, I couldn't understand. I'm saying, it's just not true. And if you want me to dopamine rage hate bait this crowd,
don't follow you.
You've got the wrong person. And they ended up leaving and they went someplace else to go listen to somebody else that was willing to do it. That's one of the big problems that we have too. Media rewards people financially with dopamine hate. It just does. Their whole goal is to rage bait you for clicks and for profit.
And they put words in your mouth.
They most certainly do.
Yeah. There's not enough of just a respectful disagreement in the public sphere. You like the Mets, I like the Yankees. Okay, let's move on and have a beer, whatever it is. And that doesn't happen as much as it should. But we also have, and this is the beauty that comes together in the assimilation, this country doesn't exist but for, and Fernando, you mentioned it, the men and women who wear our nation's uniform. They are the ones who are on the front lines every single minute of every single day, preserving our freedom, and those who gave their life, the ultimate sacrifice, to preserve it. And we just, when possible, reinforce that message of yearning for that, as opposed to it's easy when things are going cool and you grow up and you never got into a street fight and you went to the best colleges and and then you're 25 years old and you think you know the world. And I guarantee you, when you opened your first carpet store and you had to grit and grime every single day and you had to learn the rules of the world on the streets, that when you come across folks who think they know it all, you probably look at them and say, you have no clue what you're talking about. You have no clue how the world works, and you have no clue how evil some people can be, which is why we get sort of roped up in some of this you talk about dopamine, dopey foreign policy, because we think that everybody's good. And no, there are some evil people in this world, and we need to crush them when possible.
You know what? I believe always that competition is good. I've never looked at a competitor as being an enemy.
Right.
I've never looked at a challenger as being an enemy. I look at situations and I like to address issues, right? I'm not going to go after you personally when we are discussing an issue. It doesn't matter whether you're running for office or not, but the most hateful people in the world are those that when they see you as a challenge, automatically see you as an enemy and start making stories up about you. Okay? I experienced it with this guy by the name of Curtis Sliwa. This guy and I carpeted his first apartment when he moved in with Lisa Sliwa on the Lower East Side.
You should have carpeted his head.
I should have, yeah.
With a schmata.
Yeah, you know what? I should have put a red permanent rug on his head, right? So, this guy, we had been friends for 40 years. All of a sudden, I'm running for mayor, he's running for mayor. The guy accused me of things that I hadn't even heard about, right? And those are that's the hatred that kills certain people. That's why they can't get out of the hole, because they're full of hate. It's not about issues. It's about hate.
Somebody I respect dearly, one of my dearest friends, put it succinctly.
Wait, are you calling me friends now?
What happened?
Oh, no.
No, he said, he's a private business guy. He said, in business, we have competitors.
Yes.
In politics, you have enemies.
Yep.
And they want to see you dead.
Vito. I didn't know
No, he
that.
said it many, many years ago, and it resonates to this day. In business, you have competitors. In politics, you have enemies, and they want to see you dead. And that, unfortunately, carries through. And to the extent that exists, unless it's crushed, it's going to fester forever.
Why is it
By the way,
that?
sometimes
we need a whole other show.
That's for sure. But sometimes you can't get to the individual himself, like what happened with Trump in 2018. So what do? You go after those people who are around you. You go after the closest. And if it's not family, you go after to the surrogates. We saw that happen, for example, and he was with me in Otisville, Joe Perricoco, right?
Joe Perricoco,
who was Andrew Cuomo's chief of staff.
Wow, he was there?
Yeah, with me. He's one of the funniest, nicest guys you could ever meet. He really is. I enjoyed every second hanging out with him, and we hung out a lot. Joe's case was actually overturned because the allegations raised against him were false. They went after him because they clearly couldn't get to no different than many of the Democrats and some Republicans went after me. Actually, many Republicans, too, went after me in order to try to get to Trump. And I understand Trump's animus as it relates to the system and the fact that they were constantly attacking him and trying to knock him down every single day, starting with that Russia hoax, which it was. I understand it because I lived it. And to be honest with you, I don't blame him. I really don't. Now, sure, he's the president of the United States. Should he be bigger than life in order to say, I can forgive, I can let it go? I couldn't. I still can't let it go. The fact that their goal was to take him out of office even before he was inaugurated the first time.
And the fact that an ordinary person doesn't see that. And when they create this illusion, they create it, they know the facts are wrong, they manufacture things, then they create a narrative that some of them really believe it. And then when they repudiate it and they say it's absolutely false, and they still carry the message to this day, even though it's been thrown out in the trash bin, it shows you what they really all about.
Well, you know that old expression, right? You repeat the lie enough. This is Stalin.
Until you believe it.
It was Stalin who said, repeat the lie as many times as you need to in order that the lie becomes the truth. And they've done that.
And it happens.
And
it does happen. It happens. If you tell a lie enough times, people believe it.
Well, Curtis Lee he believes his own lies.
But I am living proof, which is why when you know, is going to be so important for people to hear, because there are more lies than there are facts and truths. It's amazing. They have learned how to weaponize lies.
Vito, you were a congressman. To me, you were probably one of the finest congressmen up on the hill, along with Peter King. And what's the life of a congressman like? You know, you guys get to travel, you get to go to great dinners, you get to meet the president, you get to do big things. You know, what's life like as a congressman? And what do you think these socialist congressmen that have just been elected, what are their lives going to be like? Because they don't like exuberance, right?
I would, in any public life, but especially member of Congress, it's a privilege. My hometown in Staten Island, I got born and raised in South Beach. I was a kid from South Beach. I still am a kid from South Beach of Staten Island. And
you still look like a kid.
The fact.
Yeah, you do look awfully young.
I don't know what Staten Island is doing to this guy.
It's the water.
It's the Raritan Bay. It's South Beach. It's good. Not the South Beach in Miami, real South Beach. When people entrust you to say, Vito, we're hiring you for the next 2 years to go out and exercise the best judgment to represent us in the United States House of Representatives, there's no greater honor. So it was a privilege and an honor, and you go out and you work hard. You be straight with people. You have to cast, I think, probably over 10,000 votes, and you have to be able to explain it. But the key point is know what you're talking about. Know that the people you represent come first. I found that in Congress, a lot of guys and gals drifted away from that, became more of a function of D.C., they were more concerned about their party, more concerned about other things other than fundamentally, you work for the people of Staten Island and Brooklyn. That's your job. And sometimes you have to stand up to the people in your own party. Sometimes you have to stand up to the President of the United States. And as long as you can look yourself in the mirror and say, I'm doing my job for the people I represent, that was my standard. Not everybody has it, but what can you say? What can you say? So it was a privilege. Yeah, you get to do some cool stuff. You can hang around with the Air Force One. Peter and I.
Did you fly on Air Force One?
Yes. In fact, Peter King and I were with President Bush a number of times. In fact, we went to Ireland. I know Peter was very, very involved with the Irish peace process, and to his credit, Bill Clinton was too. And we traveled to Ireland prior to resolving those things once and for all.
And you're part Irish too.
Yes, I'm a proud Irish son of an Irish mother. My mother is probably listening right now.
Made
Hi,
you
Mom.
tougher.
She does. She worked. She just retired at the age of 85. She just retired.
I want to let everyone know who's talking. It's Vito Fossella, the borough president of Staten Island. You're listening to the Katzen Company Takeover.
Mrs. Fossella. Hello, Mrs. Fossella.
Yeah, and she's an O'Leary, Lucy and O'Leary. My great-grandfather was a member of Congress from Staten Island in the 1930s and 40s. So we believe in public service. We believe in doing what's best and focusing on the good and the good in people. And we keep trying to make Staten Island a better place to live.
Michael Cohen, did you ever travel on Air Force One?
I did not.
I thought you were so close to Trump.
I was. I just didn't want to go.
I
was invited. I just had other things that I was involved with, and it's easy and it's fun to hang around with the president, to travel and so on. But that was never my thing with him. Right? It was always
4:30 a.m. and 11:30
at night. The man's got the most incredible stamina that I really have ever met. But I would handle the base. He was doing what he needed to do, and I didn't want to be that guy that's hanging over his shoulder, camera right, for the, hey, look at me on TV, look at me on TV. I have 4.4 billion articles written about me. All right, I don't need any more, fame or notoriety or infamy, more like it. But so many people have so many things to say about Donald Trump and his character, and the funny thing is, I say to them all the time, how much time have you spent with him? And the answer is generally zero.
Correct.
I, on the other hand, have spent a decade and a half by the man's side, 20 hours a day. So do the math yourself. It's incalculable.
And now you're going to spend it with us here at WABC.
That's right. But I bring that point up because I'll give you an example. The first time I showed up, it was about a month and a half, 2 months after Trump was inaugurated to the Oval Office. He wanted me to come in and to see it. He wanted to experience the whole White House. And so when I got there, they give you a little visitor's badge. You had to wear it around your neck, and was sitting in. Trump looks me right in the face and he goes, take that thing off. I'm like, what? He goes, you're not a visitor. He goes, this is your house. He goes, you come, you go whenever you want.
Wow.
It was meaningful to me. So I take it off. And then Omarosa, who was a friend, started walking me through the White House to see and to go say hello to some of the people who obviously, I knew through the campaign. And one of the Secret Service agents turned to, sir, you need to put on your visitor pass. I said, the president told me I'm not allowed to wear it. Like, sir, you have to put it on. Omarosa said, I'm telling you, president said he's not to put that on around his neck. He's not a visitor. This is his house. We then went upstairs. We had dinner, the whole 9 yards. He gave me a complete and total tour. That stayed with me as it does today. And that is a description of his character to people who he cares about.
Let me add one thing about President Trump. And when I ran for borough president, I was in a primary. It was June 22nd of 2021. Saturday, it was 3 days before. Out of the blue, I get a call. I was with my wife, Mary Pat and Grasmere, in the car and looking for an address or something. Out of the blue, I get a call from somebody, and it wasn't the somebody I thought it was. It was President Trump. Never asked for anything. And all he said was, Vito, I heard you were running. I want to do what I can to help. How come in and tell me? Within 5 hours, President Trump came out to support me publicly the next day, and he was the first person to call me on Tuesday night when I won. That is the Donald Trump, the President Trump that many people who want to hate him don't understand. He is one loyal guy, and I'm a loyal guy as well, but he didn't have to do any of that, and he stepped up to do it, never asked for anything in return, and I was grateful for it.
Vito Fossella, the borough president of Staten Island, sticking around with us. We've got to take one last break here on the Katz and Company Takeover.
I get to go to the bathroom?
Yes, you do.
All right.
Yes, you do. You don't need the hall pass. You also, just like Michael Cohen, you don't need a pass. You can go ahead and use the bathroom. We'll be right back.
Oh, we were still live.
The Marine Toys for Tots foster care program is bringing hope to children who need it most. Every 2 minutes, a child enters foster care, often with only a small bag of belongings. More than 400,000 children face trauma and uncertainty, many before age 8. This May, during Foster Care Awareness Month, Toys for Tots is creating Room for Joy. In 2025, nearly 375,000 children received comfort through toys, books, and essentials, reminding them they are not alone. Donate now and change a child's life.